All right, today is our 6-5 lesson, and we can divide by a decimal. So this time, our divisor is going to have a decimal. So we're going to figure out what to do when that happens. So remember, when we're setting up our problems, when you have your long division sign, the first number goes inside. The second number goes on the outside. First number runs inside, locks himself in, locks the little brother outside out in the rain. All right, so if we look at this, we cannot divide when there is a decimal over here in our divisor. So what we need to do is we need to be able to move this. And lucky for us, when we multiply something by 10, so for example, let's go 1.2 or 1 2/10 times 10, we learned a trick earlier that the amount of zeros is how many times we can move over, right? So we're going to do the same thing here. We're going to multiply this 5/10 by 10 so that we get 5. Now, for our dividend, our decimal ends in the same, starts at the end of our number because it's not given to us anywhere else. So because we moved it one time here, we need to move it one time here, and we fill this in with a 0. So I can rewrite this problem as 20 divided by 5, which should be a fast fact for you, and it'll give us 4. 4 is our answer here. Okay, if we move on to the next one, 1 25/100 goes inside, 0 25/100 gets stuck out in the rain. So for this one, I need to move the decimal twice to get to the end of the number. This one, they gave us our decimal, so I'm going to start here and I'm going to move it twice. And luckily, it gets to the end of the number again, so we don't even have to deal with it. So we have 125 divided by 25. 25 can't fit in once. It can't fit in 12 times, but it can fit into 125 exactly 5 times. And let's just do it just to make sure over here. 10, 11, 12. Perfect. 5 times exactly. 5 is our answer. Okay, moving on over here. I have 6.6 or 6 6/10 divided by 3/10. I need to get that decimal to the end, so I'm going to move it one time over. Need to get the decimal, move it one time over. Now, it's not always going to end at the end of the number here. It just happened to for these 3 problems. So I have 66 divided by 3. 3 goes into 6 2 times. 2 times 3 is 6. I bring down my 6. 3 goes into 6 2 times. And I have a remainder of 0. My answer is 22. All right, so we got 2 more problems to look at together. How is dividing by a decimal like dividing by a whole number? Well, we would end up with the same digits, only the decimal or our place value changes. All right, and then our last question. The same dividend is divided by 1/10 and 1/100. How do the quotients compare? Explain your thinking. Whenever I see a problem like this, I like to pick just a random number. So I'm going to pick 24. So I have 2 problems here. 24 divided by 1/10, and I have 24 divided by 1/100. So for this one, I need to move it once to get to the end of the number. So here's my decimal, right, because it's not given to me, and I'm going to move it once So my new problem is 240 divided by 1. My answer is 240. Now for this problem, I need to move it twice to get to the end of the number. So I'm going to put my decimal in, and I'm going to move it once, twice. And this problem is really saying, what is 2,400 divided by 1? Well, the answer is 2,400. Okay, so we did some example work, and now let's maybe answer the question. How do the quotients compare? How can we compare these two numbers? Well, one thing we can say is 2,400 is greater, but let's be a little bit more specific. And it's greater by what? How did we get there? We, 2,400 or 2,400 is 10 times as great as 240, which makes sense because 1/10 is 10 times as great as 1/100th. All right, you've got some independent practice time.